going to be interviewing Sussan Lari, president of Sussan Lari Architect. And just as a quick overview of what Sussan Lari Architect does and who they are and the value that they bring to this space. Sussan Lari Architect aims to design and help build functional, comfortable, and beautifully designed spaces for modern living. Sussan Lari Architect prides themselves on maintaining a mindful collaboration with all of their clients, while also accomplishing their clients' goals within budget and on schedule. So Sussan is with us today. Sussan, thank you so much for being with us. Today, we're going to be reviewing and talking about a very beautiful, very interesting project that we're calling the Flower Hill Project. And what we want to do today is really cover a bit about the client, a bit of a backstory on the project, what the client wanted themselves, and what your design and implementation was, and obviously walking through the end product of this particular project as well. So why don't we begin at the very beginning, Sussan, and why don't we kick off talking about when this project began and who it was for?
Good afternoon, John. This project is a new house. It was the design and construction of a new house in Flower Hill, an area in Long Island that is not too far from Manhattan. And because of that, it's one of the favorite neighborhoods for many people who work in Manhattan with a direct train line to the city. And because of that, it's a very popular neighborhood. It's beautifully, the entire community of Flower Hill is beautifully designed with, tree-lined trees. And it's a gorgeous neighborhood and is right in the heart of Nassau County in Long Island. But it is not too big. It's not a large neighborhood, and also the properties in this area are not very large. The largest size property typically is about an acre. But the majority of it's like a suburban, it's a suburb of New York. So my clients both lived, husband and wife are both professional, both in the world of finance, and incredibly busy individuals, professionals. And they both lived, of course, they lived together in Manhattan. And this was their first move to outside of Manhattan to Long Island. They had 2 children. And so they picked the neighborhood, they purchased the property, and then they began to look for architect. And because the wife was very busy, actually had to go to work, husband worked from home. A financial software designer. So he worked from home, so he had the time and availability to search for architect. And I think the responsibility of searching for architect and designing the house and be involved in the construction was husband's responsibility. And that's how the project began. So I received an email from him actually in early 2014. We're talking about 8 years ago. That this project that they purchased the property and they're looking for an architect, and they wanted to know if I'd be able to meet with them over a weekend. And of course it happened, and I met with him. And what I really was incredibly impressed with him. We spent a good 1.5 hours, 2 hours that Saturday. in actually winter time. And I think I was more impressed with him that he was with me. I don't come across clients that are so prepared and so ready to, you know, to do this work. And he has done a lot of research. He knew what he wanted, and I think he looked through our website and I think through house, and basically his point of view was that I want to build this house that fit within the neighborhood, but then I don't want it to look like other houses in the neighborhood. And that's the subject that last time you and I talked in length about it. So how do we do that? And this project is an excellent example of how you do a modern architecture, but make it fit in a neighborhood that it's the entire language of design of the neighborhood, or the majority of the houses in the neighborhood are very, very classic of architecture of kind of large size houses. I would say, the size of the properties are about 1 acre here. And so houses are kind of very visible from street. 1 acre is really not that large, and it's, you cannot hide the house. So it's very obvious, you see it. And one after the other, houses of either cut stone or brick, and some, wood, the traditional style wood architecture. And so he didn't like any of them. And I don't know how he kind of made these assumptions that we would be the right architect because I understand how to do the modern architecture with some level of connection to classical language of design. He didn't like ultra-modern houses. And he also understood that an ultra-modern house not gonna work in that neighborhood. So that needs certain level of intelligence, sensitivity, a better understanding. He didn't want to be an eyesore in the community. So it was a perfect, really, connection between me and my firm as a professional and designers, and he as the client. And he made himself available. So at the beginning, so it worked very well. And then he started to send, he worked so much on this kind of concept of what the house should be that he thought he could design it. And he started to draw. He had some software, he's a software designer, so he knew computers so well. And he started to send me these images and the floor plans that he did. I want my house to look like that. But fortunately, not like other architects, he didn't send any, elevations that said, I want my house to look like. He didn't send a picture of a house. He sent floor plan. How intelligent that is. And I said, okay, so this is gonna work. So we're gonna do it. It's gonna be challenging, but it's worth the challenge. And so we were hired. At one point, again, when I think about our last conversation, I said, if people, quite often, one of the reasons people do not hire me is because I tell them the truth. So this was one of the case. They asked me how long it's going to take if they could get approval to demolish the house and build the foundation, and we then design it afterward. I said, it's not going to work like that. Apparently, another architect told them, yes, we could do that. And so they decided not to hire me. And 6 months after, they called me back. So the 2014 that we talked about, it didn't happen. I was not hired. And then they came back to me toward the end of 2014. And they said, okay, no, we are hiring you. And so the project started. I tell you also another, briefly to pinpoint the connection between the conversation you and I have now on one particular project and how much could be related to the previous conversation we had. The second meeting, I met his wife, and his wife, very kind of another incredibly intelligent woman, professional to the point, but she was kind of questioning why am I designing also all the interior aspects of the house, because they could go and hire a designer, or a kitchen company will do the kitchen design. Why am I charging them to design the kitchen? Or what, it's like, because they, people do not necessarily think about these aspects of design and the interconnection between all different parts of a house that has to work together. And a previous architect told them, oh, you're wasting your money if you pay the architect to design your kitchen. Go to a kitchen store and they will design the kitchen for you for free. So why are you wasting your time? Naturally, people who are, the client is thinking at the starting point, this is my budget. That's how much I want to spend to build a house. And that's how much I put the budget to design it. And then why do I pay this much more to design the kitchen? So at the beginning of every stage of introduction of our clients and us, we have to go through all these step by step and tell them it's okay if you design your kitchen. Don't worry. It's like the kitchen people who charging you, they don't tell you to charge extra by charging to sell. They're selling the product. They're not designing. It's two different things. So it was that process of, in a way, educating the truth about our field and our profession. It happened at the very early stage, and somebody else's word resonated with them, and they hired somebody else. And after 6 months, I received a call, and we got, they fired the other architect and they hired my firm. And that was the beginning of the process of design. But the fascinating collaboration, the fascination of the collaboration is that how do we work with clients that knows what he wants and is intelligent enough that you could not just find nonsenses to convince him one way or the other, because you're not going to buy it. And that, I love that, because it was incredibly challenging. He made me to think about every aspect. I already do, but the presence of somebody who also challenge you on, the health of the material, I love that. And that was at the time when AIA was beginning to have lectures about, in the AIA convention, yearly convention, lectures about the health of materials, construction material, was a perfect kind of timing to start looking at all the, it's like you go back and you review all the different materials, and are they natural, aren't they, what is healthy about them, what's unhealthy about them. So basically what he wanted, he called modern classics. And then to him, as modern classic was that in every component of the house, we will have a modern design, not too ornate in terms of the volume and design, not too ornate, but at the same time, not blah, to have certain level of charm, detailing, kind of visual interest. So we started the design. Their site was a pie shape, like a pizza. And the larger side of the pizza was the street. So you have so much of, you drive by and you see a lot of this property and you think it's a gigantic property, but then it could go to the end to a point, a single point. So naturally, we wanted to have a volume that are segmented, and there are different segments of the volume. And he also loved that concept and he wanted that concept. So, and because he was thinking about modern living, he also understood that it's not necessary to have family room and den, and he understood, for example, that entrance hall doesn't need to be large. I'm in total agreement. Why do we need a gigantic entrance hall? If we have limited square footage to use for the public area, why do we have a gigantic entrance hall and a tiny family room or den or whatever you call? So it's very common in this area to have large entrance hall, because entrance hall is a symbol of, that's the first thing people see. You walk into the house and you immediately, your judgment is, wow, that's a big house because it has a big entrance, right? So I totally was in agreement with him. And at the same time, because we were making a very elongated kind of floor plan, 3 main components. So we had also 2 entries, one entry for kind of quote unquote formal entry to the house, and the other one everyday entry to the house, which is like mudroom entrance. And this both entry would be, I wanted both entry to have equal importance. I don't believe that entry to our homes should be one big and important for guests and one small, tiny, and important from the side for us that we live in the house. And I'm thinking, we are the one who pay for the house to start with. It's our home. Why do we have to go from the side, a tiny entry, and a less important one, and the big one for guests? Think about it. So he agreed that both entries should be at the front, and the mudroom entry closer to the driveway, so we could just park the car on the driveway and just run into the house. And these were the challenges that I always have with my other clients, to reinterpret every aspect of the floor plan. I didn't have with this client. Think about the joy of not convincing the client that let's not have a gigantic entrance hall and let's not have, really the fun, certain, let's spend our square footage intelligently. So I remember that in our previous conversation, we talked about how we could really create a modern architecture design on elevation and volume using traditional material. That I could, say on this job, this is exactly what we did. And my client and I worked for a good 1 year designing this house. It was a true collaboration between him and I. I enjoyed input from him. We had daily conversations, email, and at a certain point I said, okay, now you need to leave me alone because I need to reflect, think, develop, and then we will get together. That worked out. But then we had to get approval from architecture review board. So it's okay for client and an architect to work together and develop something amazing that it satisfies the architect's creativity, but also client would love it. Now we have a third component in our community in Long Island. We have to have also satisfy the neighbors, and we have to satisfy the architecture review committee. And the architecture review committee had 2 architects on board, and I have to also satisfy those 2 architects. So we have one aspect is the zoning and the rules and law. That's given. We have the shape of the property is given. Then program based on what client wants, which is so important, is becoming a given factor. Then the rest is satisfying my creativity, clients' interest, and and also the 2 architects of the architecture review board and the neighbors that come to architecture review board. And that was the biggest hurdle to go through. And it's irrelevant what they said, and the couple of trouble we had to get it because they felt like it's too boring. The design is pedestrian. That was the word they used, pedestrian. And I didn't know you could use the word pedestrian in design, and they did. And I, whatever. So I thought that it's okay as long as I have the approval. I'm not concerned. Client gonna live here. They're not gonna live in this house. And we got it approved. But then the unbelievable challenge was that we had few challenges. We wanted the house to be connected to the ground. That was I was insisting on that. In our area, in this area, the houses are all raised on a platform. It's like you're putting the house on a pedestal. Typically, they're about 2 feet off the ground, and in some neighborhood even higher. I think the concept is that we don't want the snow to come in, assume if there's a flood, but also we want to see it. We want to be able to see it. If it's too close to the ground, we're not going to be able to see it from the street. And then, okay, what this does is disconnect the house to the land from land. So you're not able to really walk out from every door in the house to the garden. So it disconnects the house from the garden, from a natural movement between you as you're inside, you're going to walk out, and you have to get through the steps. If you're older, you have to think 5 times before going out. You go shopping and come, you have to go 5 steps up if you don't want to go through garage. And garage is kind of overrated a little bit because the 6-7 months of the year, you don't put your car in the garage. If the weather is good, probably in California, you never do. I don't know in Wyoming, your area, but in New York, you know, you want to park the car right out and walk in, right? Children playing in the backyard, you want to be able to just open the door, go sit, you know, and read and enjoy the kids. So when the house is elevated and there's not much connection, the only exception of the doors will be the main entrance door, mudroom door, which goes through a garage, through, you know, laundry room into the house. Typically, that's the houses that are being designed here. So he understood the importance of connection from in out. So that was one criteria for us. The other criteria, we wanted that when you get to the mudroom entry, from mudroom entry, you could just have another door opposite of the mudroom door to the backyard. So you could go from one door, go inside, open another door, go back to the backyard. He was thinking, and that was excellent way of having a summer gathering, so people don't have to come to the house and walk through all your living room and, you know, all other room and go through a labyrinth to have a door out. So that was a perfect way to go out. And then we were talking about the connection between in and out, is that I think, you know, this client was a perfect client to design a house that every aspect of the house that matters to me mattered to them. Connection of the house to the land mattered. Then to look differently from the traditional layout and have a layout that is so non-traditional, but is so perfectly worked with our day-to-day life, that's what we did on this project. To be able to listen to this was fascinating. He wanted to have his dining room. You know, dining rooms are totally useless unless, you know, you do have, you know, gathering every day, or, you know, it's just being used once in a while when you have larger gathering. Otherwise, you eat, you know, in the family room kitchen, in the breakfast room. So he understood that. So he said, I want to have a dining room that looked like a piano bar in Manhattan. So a dining room that looks like a piano bar in Manhattan basically means we're going to have a dining room, but we're going to make sure we put a bar in the dining room area. Could be used as a counter for serving, and also large enough to have a piano. And that's exactly what we did. And where do we put the dining room? So right on walking in, when you walk into a house, is if the movement, think about it, you walk into the house, the main entry, and then from there you have a kind of gallery, go to different rooms, but you never really walk into the entry and go to see the dining room. We did. On this project, we did. And it perfectly worked. Dining room in their house is being used more than any other house beside breakfast room. So we didn't waste the room at all. And then he wanted to have to be able to have a connection between in and out. So that was so important. So we have very large size windows. And he wanted to have a sunken living room. I think, honestly, everything he wanted, he eventually got. And that was, to me, this is really a successful creative design to make everything work. Client is incredibly happy. I am happy because I did something totally different than my other project. I love that. For a creative architect, that's kind of a dream project. it connects to the land, and it's a beautiful house at the very end to look at from street as well as the backyard. He wanted to have a vegetable garden. He wanted to have a trail. So this is kind of, I think I shared with you last time, or maybe not. If the property is large enough, so I think we could consider 1 acre is large enough that we should be able to use every part of the garden or the land and walk in the land. So we could do a loop. We could walk around the property, but then it's, let's say, a trail. We create a trail. And then depending on the size of the property, this trail, this would forces you, first of all, to just use every corner of the garden, design in such a way that every corner could be offering you a different view of the house, offering you different areas to sit down and enjoy the garden. We had a kind of amphitheater in the backyard. Think about the smaller size of the pie in the backyard is where the backyard is. The majority of the property is the front, is where people see it. And that's not going to be a private garden. So we had to do the private garden in the back. So we used every inch of that property. We had a swimming pool that offers a kind of lap pool for swim, and then a square section of it for volleyball, because the wife, the lady of the house, loved to play volleyball in the pool. They have a sun deck. Then part of the pool, we have a pool house that is a tiny little structure in the backyard that is same level as the pool patio, and it has large doors that you could completely open, and you could sit and talk to people who are in the pool. We have seats in the pool, but people could sit in the pool and, like a bar, converse with the people inside of the pool house. I think my clients traveled a lot on vacations, and everything he liked, everywhere he went, he took a picture. That's what I want. This is kind of, no. He said that he went to Dartmouth, and Dartmouth has an amazing library, probably one of the most beautiful libraries. In that timeline, when my daughter, we were looking for college for my daughter, she and I went college hunting. And in one of the trips to Dartmouth, we went to the library and fell in love with the library in Dartmouth. I remember sitting on the chairs and say, this is the place that you should go, Sana. This is perfect. And she also loved it, but she didn't get admitted, so we moved on. So, and he wanted to have an area on the second floor for the girls to be able to sit on chairs that are identical to Dartmouth library chairs. Put their feet up on the ledge of a window, and a gigantic window overlooking the backyard, and they will be able to do their studies. Think about that, John. That level of detail, that how much this man understood the importance of life, how we spend our time, how we use our spaces. Sitting on a chair, putting your feet at the ledge of the window. So means the height of the window has to be just proper, just perfect to be able to put your feet there. Look out, so means that the chair should be in very close proximity to the window to look out. Loved the idea. So imagine how many lists of wish list I had that I had to work with. He said, I want the dining room to be 2-story, and I look up, and on the upper level is the library, and I could see the connection between up and down. He got it. So that was awesome project. Truly, truly awesome.
I'm so inspired by this walkthrough. You're so articulate in explaining the holistic interconnectivity all the way through from the very beginning when you get the email from the client saying, I think I want to pursue something together, all the way through to the very end. And I appreciate once again the philosophy that you maintain that allows your client to enjoy a space that is designed around their life rather than trying to shoehorn someone's lifestyle into an end design. And I love the way, I have to say something here as well that really is very impressive. You didn't really highlight this because I know you're not that type of person to highlight this, but this client, they had a contract with a previous architect. They then fired that architect who was giving them conflicting advice, wasn't actually moving things forward in the way that they needed to. And I think that's a challenge that many people have. They will go out and they will try to start a relationship with an architect, and they will try to, hey, can we get what we want, from this relationship, and can we work together? And I think the missing pieces at the end of the day are not around zoning laws and all of that administrative side, right? It's about your understanding of being able to understand what the client actually wants, what the client needs, and how to achieve that, and to provide the guidance that you deliver. So if you're listening to this today and you feel something inside of you when you hear Sussan talk, when you hear about this journey of going from an idea that sparked in a software developer's mind, right, a software designer's mind, all the way through to a beautiful end product that allows the client to live every nuance of their dream every single day. Imagine the joy, imagine the harmony of life that this family now enjoys. If, as you listen to this, you feel interested in taking the conversation yourself with Sussan, my recommendation would be to go to SussanLari.com. It's SussanLari.com, and reach out to her directly via the website. There's some phone numbers there as well. Give her a call. Talk to her office. You will be in the best of hands. Again, Sussan, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate the amazing journey that you took us on today. Thank you again.
My pleasure, John.